Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another round of Common Sense Commentary. As many of you know that have followed me on Facebook and X and on the YouTube channel, we've done about 4 videos right now, and they were solo, addressing a lot of the issues and topics that are going on right now across the globe, especially here at home, because there's lots of news. But I've been silent for a week because I've been speaking with a old friend of mine, and he's not an old friend. Don't get a wrong idea. He's not Father Time, but he's a longtime friend of mine. Known him for 25 years or so. Served in the Navy for many years. Retired out of the Navy. Very well-rounded individual. And completely different as far as I go. Even though we're friends, he is a conservative that comes from a family that's predominantly on the left, lifelong Democrats, and you'll learn more about him as we go along, and hopefully as we do future shows. But I'm pleased to bring in my good friend Earl Tucker. Earl, how are you this morning, buddy?
I'm doing great, Russ. Thank you for the kind words, man. I really appreciate that. We've had a long friendship, man, over the last 25 years, and it's crazy to say that 25 years that it has been right now. We pick up the phone basically whenever we talk to one another. After it could be 1 year, 3 years, we pick right back up to where we left off. But just to kind of introduce myself, my name is Earl Tucker, um, 20-year Navy veteran, retired in 2023, been stationed all over the country, all over the world. It's been it was a ride, man. I thoroughly enjoyed what I did. Um, that you're always gonna be that. I'm always gonna be a sailor first. That's the mentality. I'm just retired now, learning how to be a civilian. But yeah, thank you for this. Thank you for this opportunity, though, Russ. I'm really happy to be here with you, man.
Well, I'm happy to have a co-host because as we've talked in a couple of conversations leading up to our first co-host gig here on the show, one of the things is I don't even know if I told you this yet, and the audience may not know, but anytime I've done a video or short or anything like that that you can see on the YouTube channel, I do it all in one take. I've never used I've never used notes except for one time, just to make sure that I got the verbiage correct for what I was talking for what I was discussing. And for some videos, it's 17 minutes, 27 minutes, 47 minutes. Sitting on a stool and looking at a camera, and something that doesn't talk back or have or can give me an opinion or any pushback. It can be a little deflating because you don't know if you did a good job or not, and you have to sit there and wait. And when you publish the video to see, how many views or likes or comments you got. So, but fortunately, for only the 2 weeks I've really been doing this. You've been picking up likes and subscribers and getting interest and getting comments. So, but I'm glad to actually have a co-host, somebody uh, that can give me a break for a couple of minutes, and I can take a sip of water, and they can keep talking. But the one thing is, I've always been kind of curious, and for the audience that's listening, first off, thank you for inviting us again into your home or on your device or on your radio, however you're listening right now. It means a lot. We certainly appreciate you taking the time because there's so many other things that you could be doing or listening to right now. So we really appreciate, and we're going to do our best job to, like the name of the show, provide common sense commentary. It's nice that there's two of us now. We can give two different perspectives here, and what I want to do is I want to start out, and I'd like to ask Earl this, since I know we had discussed this not in great detail, but let's talk about the Afghanistan withdrawal. So when you were still active duty, if I'm not mistaken, you told me that you were at sea. You were actually on a ship when this was going on.
Yes, I was. Back at that time, I was stationed out of San Diego. We were doing drills, coming, training for the next deployment, in and out. There's checks in the box that you have to complete to get to the point to where you can deploy. So I do remember that time once our troops were brought out of Afghanistan, and there was talk amongst the mech, mostly on the mess deck. So that's our dining hall on board the ship. There was chatter, about it, about that we had other service members that had siblings, that were Army or Marines or
Oh
whatnot,
wow.
and that were getting pulled out of there. So it was a really cool deal. We still had a small number of sailors still deploying to Afghanistan under certain various jobs. Usually, well, let's just say earlier in the earlier 2010s, it was mostly for infantry. They would go train at Fort Lewis out of Washington for 3 weeks, and they get shipped right out there. But as the years has gone on, the numbers have decreased. Uh, they're only sending people for like master at arms, which is like police type work,
Okay.
or supply people to go over there and be in charge of the supplies for the soldiers over there. So to actually pull out of there, it was a good thing. We most of us seen it as a win.
Okay,
I
well,
would say it was one of our
well,
wins.
and I want to stop you right there for a second because I'm going to ask you another part of this. But for a lot of us, I think obviously we had discussed this a little bit. You were only able to get certain amounts of information at a time because obviously when you're at sea, like you had told me when we had a discussion yesterday, there's no cell phone towers or anything like that. You have limited computer access, so you're getting bits and pieces of information. But what we're seeing at home, obviously, we're able to see everything. Fox, Newsmax, CNN, MSNBC. X. It was all plastered everywhere, and a lot of what we saw were people clinging to airplanes and falling off because the Afghan people they were so fearful, and they knew that as soon as we left, as soon as we pulled out, that they were going to be overrun at some point in time by the Taliban. The Taliban was kind of lying in wait, I guess, and shortly after that, because all the billions and billions of dollars worth of equipment that we left over there, um, one of the things that I noticed was the Taliban had a parade, and it was disheartening. But when I first saw the pictures and the video of this parade, I don't know if there was like a couple of brothers in the Taliban, or if they called an exhibit and said, "Hey, come hook up come pimp my military ride." But they painted white paint on the side of the tires, like white walls, like it's one of Snoop and Dre's, 62 Impalas, and I'm sitting there thinking, we left them all these billions of dollars worth of equipment. They just overtook this whole country. We had, the Gold Star, there was 13 Gold Star families, 13 service members killed. And these cats are more worried about how our equipment looks. Does it look like it's hooked up or not? And so I thought, I was like, it's a little humorous to me at that point, because I was like, with everything going on, and the Taliban know they're disliked, all over the world. But they wanted to stop and say, "Wait a minute, we're going to do this parade. Let's make sure our stuff looks like it's hooked up," which was our stuff. But obviously, I think people, that's the impression that we got here. Obviously, you guys heard about it, but you didn't have the whole picture, probably until you got back to shore. And then do you remember when maybe yourself and some fellow service members, when you started seeing like the video and the pictures and things on mainstream media, did your reaction change a little bit? It was kind of like, yeah, we're glad we're out, but could we have done it a different way, or was that the way to do it? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, honestly, at the time, once we got back, it was somewhat confusing a little bit because, um, like you say, we seen all that stuff that you had just mentioned, um, with all our equipment still there and everything. Um, Taliban and all the things that they were conducting, and the civilians that are still there. What angle were they taking with it all? So it we were being a little bit behind on what was going. It was a little bit confusing. I mean, like I said, we knew the main point of, yes, our troops are getting pulled out of there, but like you were mentioning, what is as far as the state of Afghanistan and what kind of picture they're trying to paint towards us, or what, and all that stuff, what their future plans are, that was still in question, man, to be honest with you. So the majority of us, it was questions. It was questions, just like the civilian population, I'd say.
Okay, so yeah, it was very similar. I mean, because the way that I equate it, and a lot of people I talk to, it's kind of like you go to a nice restaurant with a couple of your friends. I mean, it'd be like me and you, buddy, going to a restaurant and having a couple of cocktails, having a porterhouse steak and a dessert and everything, and then um, you pay for your meal, but I skip out. I run out the door, and that's kind of what I felt like
Yeah.
with Afghanistan. We had made an investment there, um,
Hmm.
but then it's like somebody's like, "Well, we made an investment there. That's fine, but at this point in time, let's pull that." And I just think you're right. I mean, we made a partial investment there, but then I felt like you hit the nail on the head. There wasn't any kind of real structure. I felt like we just kind of left those people to fend for themselves without any kind of concrete, plan in place. Um, so, well, it was good to get a different perspective. So, because obviously I know you're.
Absolutely. Let me add something there,
Yeah, go ahead.
Russ. I'm sorry. Also, want to add this commentary. Of course, as most probably already know, being in service, being on the ship, your commanding officer, your executive officer, your command master chief, the three top leaders on board the ship, they definitely express the idea of, okay, our command, that's our commander in chief. Our job is to support. You know what I mean? So that's in the head of a lot of us as well. Whether some of the stuff we agree with or not, it's embedded in us to, okay, well, our job is to support what's going on. Like we'll have these captain calls where the whole crew gets together, and we get some stuff put out. Kind of, sometimes on current events, not necessarily that one,
Okay.
but that's usually the general attitude towards a lot of the stuff. Just to get that. I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off
no,
there.
no, no. Hey, it's gonna happen when you have a co-host. Like I said earlier in the preamble, I'm just happy to have not sitting here staring at a camera and doing one take, solid. A solid conversation with myself and a lens for 20 minutes. So no issue there at all. Now, okay, so I do want to say this. This is a good time to drop this for the audience. Whether you like the show or not, please drop a like. If you like the show, subscribe. And I'm asking you to do that to show thanks for Earl's long standing service for protecting our country and for going above and beyond to make sure that like we were talking about. I mean, he's on a ship when things are going on, and we're sitting here watching TV. But if these things aren't in place, if these individuals aren't felt to honor the call to serve, we're not going to be able to sit home comfortably and watch these reports and watch these news and critique it. So, I mean, I've said it many times. I appreciate your service, and I hope the audience will like and subscribe. If nothing else, just as a gesture to say, thank you. We appreciate your service. So, with that being said, now that you're retired, uh, and you and I have talked about this a little bit, but we didn't talk about it too much in depth. So, did you have a chance finally to catch up with the Oval Office meeting yesterday with President Vance, Marco Rubio, Zelensky, and obviously President Trump? Did you catch that yesterday?
I did. I did. I caught it a little bit later than everybody else did. Uh, Yesterday evening, I watched the whole 25-minute snippet of it. Woo!
So what's
Wow, I
your
was glued,
yeah?
man.
So I have my thoughts on it, but I want to hear yours first, buddy. I want you to share with everyone what was your take on it, and how did you kind of come to the conclusion that you came to?
So my initial take on it was President Zelensky. Um, he came in there, and after watching the whole entire video, it looked like he was low key trying to show up the president and the vice president. He was talking about unnecessary things. Um, for instance, for example, how he was mentioning, from 2014 to I think 2022, um, A, B, and C was happening over in Ukraine. He mentioned, no, this was during your time too, President Trump. You were there for this. So he's trying to drag him through the mud, it looked like, and it got to the point to where um, Vice President Vance had enough, and he put his foot down on him, man, and told him, "Hey, you're not gonna come to the Oval Office and um, try to show us out." Um, that was my first initial thought, and I thought that was needed. That showed strength. That showed unity to our country, and it showed putting America first. I think it made a statement, man.
Yeah, I agree. I watched it along with my wife, and I looked. She's not nearly as vocal as I am. I guess thank God for that. But I when I was watching it, I actually turned to my right to look at her, and I mean her jaw was literally on the floor. Um, and I think one of the things was never had anybody seen anything like that from any party or any foreign leader, um, and it took a minute to digest it. I mean, it's like you go to the movie theater and you watch a blockbuster movie with the family during the summer, and you're like, "Wow, that's really really good." And then on the car ride home, you're like, "Oh, did you notice this? Did you see this part? Did you catch this?" And you're like, "No, I got to watch it again." So that was kind of
Hmm.
me yesterday. I think I watched it two or three times. Because just to let it all soak in and make sure I wasn't missing anything, because I had my initial thoughts on it, and I got to tell you, I think, and if you go to like any place on social media, Facebook, but especially X, of course, like the country is right now, there's still a lot of division, and of course, this yesterday just ramped it up even more on both sides. But um, the thing was. There's been a lot of time and effort invested already with us sending folks over there to negotiate with this, and to kind of paint this picture with a broader stroke here for people. I think a lot of folks, you kind of have to go back to the beginning. I mean, we've had some time invested over there, obviously a lot of money. We know about that, which was boneheaded to begin with, because I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Earl, if you asked me to loan you $1,000, because there's issue, but I mean, you don't necessarily call it a loan. You just say, hey, I need $1,000 because I've got to put an alarm system in my house because I've got people trying to break and enter. um, I'm happy to do it. But again, I'm kind of thinking, all right, when he gets back on his feet and he's got a little cash flow going, I'm going to get my money back. That's kind of the assumption.
Hmm.
And I think Zelensky kind of came into this as thinking he was getting our taxpayers' money for free, and then Trump, being the businessman that he is and the negotiator, is like, no, we need to get something in return. I mean, we've got Doge cleaning house and making cuts and eliminating a lot of government waste that's gone unchecked for years. But then you've got someone like Zelensky flying around all over the country, and our tax money is paying for that jet fuel. So you've got all these people riding around on the plane with Zelensky that we're paying for, thinking he doesn't have to give it back. And I think the mineral deal, the structure, and from what I read, and I don't know how many people that are listening or how many people that are listening to this have really dived into it. But I was able to actually, revisit it. And it was going to be a joint venture. It had already been agreed upon. The signing the deal was just a formality. Um, and my understanding was that there was going to be a fund set up, and it was going to be even 50-50 split. That was going to allow us to get our money back, and it was going to go, the other 50% was going to go in a fund that was going to be used to rebuild Ukraine, basically. Okay, so it was good. Everybody's happy. They, they already have the minerals there. They're not doing anything with them. But there's a couple of things that are roadblocks in this deal with the minerals. It's not like we can go over there next week if we have a signed agreement and we can start extracting these minerals. There's a huge problem with landmines, and this is verified. You can read about it online. About 25% of the area of Ukraine has landmines currently. Most of those are towards the east, which is where Russia is at. But my understanding is that's also the eastern part of Ukraine is also where there's the greatest concentration of these minerals, which is like titanium and graphite. So not only do you have to set up and be able to extract these minerals and pull them out of the earth, before you can even do that, a quarter of the country has landmines. And that's got to be dealt with. And being in the service, as you can imagine, I mean, even though you were Navy, I mean, that's a delicate operation, especially that large of an area to remove that many landmines. I mean, there's going to be some time. So we were giving them, we were going to do that deal. It was going to be great for us. We were going to be able to get our money back. He had already agreed to it. The signing was just a formality, but I think he started backpedaling a little bit, and he wanted security guarantees. Well, my understanding that some of the European countries were going to be able to provide some security. I think the UK specifically, I think they were going to be able to provide some security. But I think on the other end of that, President Trump had been on record before saying that, we're going to be there. There will be, some security, but us being there with workers and contractors, should really be enough. And I think it's a way too that we've done so much for Ukraine as far as weapons and the power grid, and the money. Of course, the money, but I think it was a way for President Trump to say, you know what, we're going to stand pat. This is what we're going to do. It's a good deal for you. It's a good deal for us. All he had to do was agree to a ceasefire. But here's the big but.
Yeah.
With Donald Trump being a negotiator, how much of this was to show the other countries, hey, we're all in. You guys need to bring more to the dance here. You guys need to bring a little bit more to the party, because all the money and the weapons and everything that we've done, just as one country so far, you'd have to add up, probably 2 or 3 European countries to match our contribution. So I think it's a way of maybe this current administration putting a little bit of pressure on those other countries to, hey, we're doing all this. We're going to help with the rebuild because we're extracting this. We're getting our return, yes, but we're also going to help Ukraine rebuild with this fund. We're going to have some forces there, but it's mainly going to be workers and contractors. But you need to provide security. We can't do it all. I mean, would you agree with that assessment?
I'd absolutely agree. And I think that's part of the reason he kept the conversation going. When Vice President was like, okay, was kind of like, okay, do we want to stop this right now? He's like, no, this is the reason I kept it going. Let's get this information out there. But absolutely, man, the money that's been given to them, uh, they've taken it for granted. I think Zelensky's looking at it like this isn't the last administration, buddy. You can't just come in there with your hand out, man, and just do whatever the hell you want to do
Well,
when you want to do it.
yeah,
It's
and
not how it works.
yeah, and I agree with that. I think from going from an administration that had a commander in chief that was, 40% of his administration was on vacation, but then when he was in office, there would only be, one or two questions answered by reporters. Usually, if he had any gathering of press, after 2 minutes, he was done. There wasn't, transparency. Well, there was. I mean, obviously, he said, that he wasn't going to pardon this person or that person. He wasn't going to pardon Hunter Biden. And obviously, how that turned out. And this guy's dozing off and having problems walking and wandering off. And then you've got somebody, and the thing, the kind of the sad part is a certain amount of people in our country were used to and conditioned to that kind of, I guess I would call it a lazy administration. But then you've got like the biggest pit bull on the block now in the White House. And I think, because we live in this day and age where everybody gets a participation trophy and everybody's feelings are easily hurt, depending upon what you say or how you vote. But I mean, personally, I think it's a breath of fresh air. I think, it shows, like you said, strength, and that we're not going to be walked over. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you're an ally, we support you, but this is, we're all in. And I think you said that. Basically, when you said, Zelensky walked in there and was pretty much trying to upstage the president and the vice president in the Oval Office. And by the way, I think it was very ridiculous. I mean, you see the guy on news and on TV all the time. I mean, he wears fatigues. I get it. That's fine. But when we've given you so much and it comes from the American people and you're in the people's house, the birthplace of democracy, and you can't even put on a shirt and tie. I mean, to me, I could overlook, hey, if you say thanks one time, that's fine. But, read the room and realize where you're in and the gravity of the situation. It at least look presentable and, look strong, not for yourself, but for your people. You're representing the Ukrainian people when you're here. And I thought that was kind of a strike, but obviously a lot of this stuff was already discussed, and exactly like you said, it's already discussed. It was a formality to sign the agreement, but like Trump says, he has no cards, and he's trying to get these security guarantees, and he's wanting to join NATO, and people are missing the whole point here that we've already spoken with President Putin. He's already agreed to come to the table. I believe, and this is my thoughts on it. And I was thinking about this morning before we went live with the show. There's two leaders in the world that previous administrations were very scared of, or they walked on eggshells around. And one of them was Vladimir Putin, and the other one was Kim Jong-un. And guess what?
Correct.
Guess what? President Trump had no issues dealing with Vladimir Putin, and he was the first sitting president to step foot in North Korea. And I think that shows those leaders that they're not going to be able to railroad and run over the Trump administration. So I firmly believe that's why Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un never really tried to do anything to rock the boat, because they knew they had a worthy adversary in President Trump. So I think for somebody like Zelensky, I mean, the guy was a comedian and a stage actor. Wasn't a politician. It's unfortunate for those people, but you come, there's a deal in place, then you're trying to add more stuff on national TV in the Oval Office, and we're just asking for a ceasefire. It made perfect sense when President Trump says, you got to agree to a ceasefire. I don't want any more killing. I don't want any more Russians. I don't want any more Ukrainians dying. A ceasefire. To me, if I was a Ukrainian citizen and I was watching that would have been a slap in the face. I mean, I get that he feels like he needs some more security, but you know what? We've already had this discussion with other countries. They're going to provide security. It's not a secret. It's not that he doesn't know this. It's just like, what more do you want out of us? We're trying to get you and your people out of the war. We're trying to rebuild your country. We have Russia sitting over here waiting in the wings, wanting to come up. And I don't care what happened with Vladimir Putin and previous administrations and deals that were broken. it wasn't the Trump administration. You've got to give peace a chance. If you're, I mean, you're a big basketball fan, Earl. I mean, if you don't lace up your shoes and get next to the court, guess what? You're never going to be able to get in to take a shot. And I kind of felt that's where we were at. I felt like he showed up to the basketball game without his sneakers, without his shorts, still hanging out in the locker room, wondering how come he's not going to play.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, showed up in his blue jeans, man, blue jeans and flip flops, wanting to come and put up some shots, but yeah, he looked really silly, man. He looked absolutely atrocious.
Oh, and speaking of that, talking about the different administrations and things that happened, was when you were in the service, and I don't think anybody's ever asked this, so I want to ask this. Um, you were in how many different administrations when you were enlisted? How many different administrations? Was it 3, 4?
Let's see. I want to say four. Four.
Starting with the Obama administration, right?
My first administration was George W.
Okay.
I go back to that. I'm old, man.
so let me ask you this, because I'm curious to know. I think other people are probably curious to know, because obviously it's fresh in our minds from the administration that we were just under to the current administration, and seeing just the how polar opposite they are in the the energy, lack of energy, whatever you want to say between the two. Since you've been under multiple administrations in active duty, and now as a civilian, was there times to where there was like highs and lows as far as morale, like, hey, we're really glad this president does a great job, or this person's horrible, or this candidate, if they win, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I mean, was there ever any of that? I mean, I know who's the commander in chief is who you're ultimately following orders from, but I mean, now that you're a civilian, can you kind of shed a little light on that?
Absolutely. I'll be honest. The 2000s, I was young and I was happy to have a job, man. Happy to serve. I wasn't really paying too much attention to some of the stuff with George W. I mean, the big things that I can remember was there was a whole lot of service members going over to Iraq, um, Afghanistan, um, Kuwait. I mean, we were sending them out there. A lot of people are going to be would be volunteered, or we're going to be voluntold. So that was a lot of that going on. I was supposed to have a stint in Guantanamo Bay back in
Oh
'07.
wow.
It didn't end up happening. I was supposed to go there for 6 months, and I was going to work at the prison there and help the detainees. That was going to be my job. Um, that didn't they didn't need that spot. They didn't need me for that. But moving on to Obama when he came through, I think he came through '08. I think it was for me. I guess was in my late 20s. Was a genuine. Oh wow, this is pretty cool. You know, um, I still wasn't really hard in politics like that. The whole military around me, as from what I seen, it wasn't really a whole bunch of fodder, whole bunch of speaking points. But let me get to it. The first time I really remember um, things when things kind of got real was 2012. In 2012, we had what we call the ERB, which is the Enlisted Retention Board for the Navy, where they cut thousands of sailors, mid-career sailors. That was would have been Obama's administration. Um, Thousands of people, I had a lot of buddies that careers were snatched from them. A couple of my mentors didn't get to retire because they were cutting, they were cutting the fat, as they
Well,
say,
well, let me
right, slimming up.
well, let me insert something right here, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but So,
Go ahead.
so you said this was 2012. Okay, so at this point in time, we're in Afghanistan. We're in a few areas. We're only 11 years removed from 9/11. So we're still basically war on terror. We still have a presence, globally. So what was the rationale given for the cuts?
Whew, it was tough, man. There was a lot of people were devastated, man. To be honest with you, um, not only did it hurt a lot of career sailors that were that were great. I was on the chopping block. I was very fortunate not to make the cuts. They're all based on evaluations, right? And also, about a year after that, the forces we were hurting. The ships were undermanned. Jobs needed to be filled. They were they made a mistake getting rid of all those people. They were recruiting more people, so we had a younger force that we had to train,
Yeah, that had
right? And
they had
that
no
lasted a
experience.
few
Yeah,
years.
no
It
experience and
was
fresh out of
yeah,
training.
man. Yes. That stung for a few years. That stung for a few years. And that that was a big one. I say another turning point. I say Russ is 2016. The Hillary Clinton Donald Trump race. This is kind of where I started. 2012 is when I started really perking up my ears to a little bit of politics, but 2016 was a little bit even more like, okay, man, we're gonna have some history one way or the other. We're gonna have first woman president, or we're gonna have Donald Trump.
Right.
Both of them at the time sounded a little bit odd, right?
Yeah.
But I can remember, Russ. I was on duty the night before, the night of the election night, when all the votes were coming in. I went to bed. I think I had a watch on the quarter deck, 4-hour watch, what you do on duty days. Went to my bunk, woke up, and I went to the office, and Donald Trump was president.
So
Everybody was like,
so
"Whoa!"
what was your
It was a big
what was
like,
your reaction? Was it like disbelief, or did you think it was potentially a good thing, or did you think Hillary should have won? I mean, so what was your reaction right then?
my reaction. I'll be honest. I was surprised. I didn't really have a dog in the fight at the time. I kind of knew about them both. I had a couple. I wasn't really digging in it like that, but I was surprised, man. To be honest with you, I said, "Whoa, man, okay." I mean, I would have been surprised with Hillary as well, but it would have made more sense. But we've had a Clinton in the
Right.
office,
Right.
you know
Yep.
what I mean? So I've seen her there, right? It was a little more familiar, but it was surprised. There was tension, man. There was tension amongst people there. There was a lot of people that was starting to get really invested in this stuff, especially with social media growing, I think. People seeing a lot more stuff. People are saying a lot more things, and so there was people had their little groups to where they were talking, and I felt it. I was like, "Whoa, I've never felt this before." That was the first time I really felt it, if you know what I mean. Like, oh man, there's something in the air.
Yeah, and to kind of add to that, I mean, it's something that I think um, started around that time period during that campaign between those two front runners, between Hillary and Donald. And I think it's something that still exists now, and probably even worse as far as tension with everything that's gone on the last 11 12 years. But you know you read different things, you absorb different information. But one of the things for me was um, the numbers don't lie, and the numbers showed that we had, as far as Republican voters, uh, they made uh, they made a lot of headway this most recent election cycle over the Democratic Party, as far as the number of minority voters increased, and not just by a little, I mean by a lot. There were a lot more African American voters, a lot more Hispanic voters. Um, that voted Republican, and the media
Yeah.
tries to tell you that the Republican Party of today is not for the little man and minorities. That's historically been on the Democrats' playbill. but the numbers suggest otherwise. I mean, so I mean, how do we explain that? I mean, because in one instance you hear Donald Trump's a racist. He doesn't care, but then you look at his cabinet and you see the diversity of the cabinet, and then you get the statistics about more minorities voted for him than did the last time he ran. So, what are your thoughts and feelings on that?
Hmm. So yeah, Russ. I'm gonna start with this, man. I never even heard the rhetoric that Donald Trump was a racist until 2016.
That's a true
That
point.
that strikes me
Yep.
odd first. Before that, amongst minorities, I can say for my community, man, we love Donald Trump. Everybody, I mean, he was in 300 plus rap songs. People are, he's been in the community. He's received NAACP awards, man, throughout the years, taking pictures with the prominent black leaders. He's been in the culture for a long time, so I've tried to dig and see where did this rhetoric come from, man, and it's I'm gonna keep it funky, man. It's propaganda, man. It's been pushed out there. I think a lot of the um, a lot of the higher ups, with the money, most of them are on the left. He's not gonna. Trump's not gonna fall in line.
You're talking.
A
You're
lot of the rest of these guys fall in
Now,
line.
for clarification, you're talking about higher ups on the left. Are you referring to somebody maybe like George Soros that dumps all
Big
this
guy.
money?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, absolutely,
okay, okay. I just wanted to
absolutely.
clarify for the
The
audience. Okay.
top 1%.
Mm.
Thank you. Absolutely. And he doesn't fall in line, man. So I think just slowly happened. These things, this propaganda gets pushed out that he's a racist. He doesn't like minorities. Doesn't like women, and just all this other stuff, but without no facts on it. Like nobody's using any critical thinking skills when they hear this stuff. They just take what they hear on CNN or some of these other networks and just run with it and don't, say it. Oh, he's racist. Well, what did he do? And then they go, if I were to say, well, okay, I'd like to hear your side. What did he do? That was racist. And then ad hominem attacks come toward me now. So that's the next step now. Instead of explaining your position, you're going to attack me now. So it's just gone off the rails now. It's bad.
Well, that goes hand in hand with what you were saying about critical thinking. I think that was a good point because a lot of people don't necessarily stop. I think more people in today's world, especially the last 10, 11, 12 years, um, they react first instead of thinking. So
Hmm.
if they don't agree with your choice of what you order off of a dinner menu or who you voted for, um, I mean, they would just as soon slap you in the face and sit there and have a well thought out, educated conversation about it. And even if you don't agree, you can agree to disagree.
Absolutely. To answer the rest of your question that you had asked just before, right now, I think more people are catching on, getting hip to it. Um, the things are when things affect you, um, affects your pockets, affects your lifestyle. You know, some people are like, hold on, wait a minute, hold on a second, and they're thinking, using the brain, and I think that's contributed to the minorities that's flipped the script. It was like, no, I'm not falling in line. I'm using my head. I'm gonna use the information that I see, what's been given. I'm gonna make a good choice, you know, based upon that. Um, Look at, choice A, choice B. Put all the credentials down, take the names off. Pick that way, man. Not I don't care how you feel. Everybody's too emotional and want to show how you feel. Hey, man, I'm done with that. I don't give a damn what you feel like. Let's look at what's going on. let's keep it real.
That's exactly what I've kind of been preaching to a lot of folks is, you got to separate fact from fiction. I mean, because the media, if you go solely on the media, I mean, you named a couple of outlets during this conversation, but if you just solely watch like CNN or the talking heads at MSNBC, they paint this picture of doom and gloom, and this is how everybody feels. And if you don't feel that way, you're part of the problem. And I mean, I can tell you because over the last few years, anytime you see a reporter standing somewhere in Washington, D.C., you'll see a handful of protesters behind them or something, and you think, oh my gosh, this is a volatile place to be. And I haven't discussed this before, but I'm just take just a second here. For the week of the inauguration, my family and I were in Washington, D.C., weren't sure what to expect. We're very cautious when we were there, paying attention to our surroundings and what was going on. And I can tell you, the people of Washington, D.C., the people that worked with the metro system, the Capitol Police that we encountered, Secret Service we encountered, and people in restaurants and stores, everybody was super friendly. We're glad people were there. We're happy, and we were just, a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of Republicans now, have the MAGA gear and some of the stuff. So some of them are really over the top. But we were just dressed like we normally would, and so. But I did notice. I mean, there were all ages and races of Republican, Trump supporters there, and they were proudly displaying and wearing, MAGA gear and shirts and things of that nature. And there was no yelling or screaming, or there was nothing. And I remember telling my wife, I said, you watch the news and they make you think that everybody in Washington, D.C. absolutely hates MAGA supporters and absolutely hates that. But I can't tell you, it seemed further from the truth. I know during the election that, D.C. is not a very big area, so it's been left for a while. So I think Trump got, a very small percentage of the vote there, very small. But I mean, it seems like, everybody was welcome there, is what you would expect in the birthplace of democracy. But there was no animosity. There was no signs of any kind of hatred or I'm going to go slash your tires or anything like that. And we even went to a little souvenir shop right there on Pennsylvania Avenue. All right, just a few blocks down from the White House. And
I've been to that shop.
Okay, yeah, it's right there. There's a Hard Rock Cafe, and on the other side of Hard Rock Cafe is Ford's Theater, where Lincoln was assassinated. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I was like, if Lincoln was alive now, well, how would he feel about a Hard Rock Cafe right next to the theater where he was at? But so yeah, we walk in there, and I would say. And I took pictures, and I think you've probably seen some of them on Facebook, but I would say like 99.7% of the items that were in there were either geared towards Republicans or Donald Trump, and they had a small section, probably like 2 foot by 2 foot, of Biden-Harris stuff, and it was 90% off. It was on clearance. And I'm thinking, I was like, it's not really adding up here. Okay, there's very little bit of this stuff. It's predominantly Trump stuff. All these supporters are walking around. The police are interacting. I mean, we had a real good conversation with some DC Capitol Police who posed for pictures with our daughter, and they found out we were from Western North Carolina. And the first thing they asked about was, well, how's Asheville? How are those people? Which I thought was a phenomenal gesture. I mean, here they are barricading the road, not sure what's going to happen and how people are going to be. And they were nice, and they weren't worried about that. They were worried about people several states away from them. So I had to tip my hat. I even sent their police chief an email to let them know, hey, you've got people out here that are just, a phenomenal asset to the law enforcement community. So I can't say anything bad about DC. I mean, other than it's a little bit hard to find an easy place to slide in and get something to eat. And I will share this story. It's a little bit ironic. we were there, and I like Elon Musk. I've been a fan of Elon Musk even before this whole deal, and he got involved with the Trump administration. Um, and we went into the one place that we could get into. We had to go through security, and it was like the Ronald Reagan building, Ronald Reagan administration building. So we went in because they had a little food court, and then they had a little gift shop there. So I bought a hat there in the gift shop on our way out. Well, so about a week later, I'm sitting there in my recliner and on the news, and I look over at my wife and I'm like, "That's the building we were at." And it turns out that that's where USAID was at. So it's like, wow, we were just there. And when we were there, of course, it was the day after Inauguration Day. So the building was open, but I can tell you, we probably encountered a dozen people in this large building. And I think half of those were security, and there were a couple of people working the food court. You were walking down hallways and past offices and things, all vacant. So what you see on TV about us having federal buildings and just keeping the lights on, but nobody's there, people are working remotely. If it's like that, it's very believable because there was just it would cost so much money just to have that building between the sewage and the electricity and anything else associated with the maintenance and upkeep, for there to only be 12 or so people there. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I hadn't shared that yet. So those were the topics that I had. You got something in closing here, new co-host?
Yeah. So let me ask you, Russ. We just had this economic blackout. It was yesterday. Matter of fact, February
And I
28th.
don't understand a lot about that. So not only are you educating me, you're educating the listeners because they may not have heard.
Yeah, yeah. So um, I've been seeing things on this probably for the past week. I didn't know how much attention was going to get put on it, but the local news stations and national news stations, they're all talking about it. It's all over X, it's all over Facebook and everything. But the goal, I guess, well, not the goal, I don't know the goal, but what's basically going on is um, today, not today, but on 28th, you were supposed to not shop at any of the major retail chains such as Walmart, um, Target, order from Amazon, nothing like that. If you were to buy it before or buy it on the day after the 28th, the 28th was supposed to just be for a boycott. Only things that they were saying that you can go and get, go get medical supplies if you need be, or stuff like that. But that was basically showing, I guess, some consolidarity to show their economic buying power. That that was supposed to be put out, but I'm still trying to figure out what is the goal of this. What is this going to accomplish? Uh, we probably can come up with some theories, but that is what what was going on with that. And I don't know. What do you think about that, Russ? Kind of
Yeah,
from what you've
yeah.
seen.
I mean, well, one until you had mentioned it briefly yesterday, I hadn't really heard about it. Didn't know a lot about it, and honestly, I think it's foolish. I'm going to go on record and say that. Because like my family, my wife, my daughter, myself, we're a family of three. Okay. Let's break it down to something ridiculous here. All right, you need a roll of toilet tissue. Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So you're going to run to your Dollar General or to your Walmart or Target or whatever, and you want to get a roll of toilet tissue. Um, that's that's I'm just at a loss here because I just don't understand what good it does because I'm still going to buy the roll of toilet tissue, but now I'm going to have to buy two rolls.
Hmm.
Okay, so there's that, but then maybe my neighbor works at Walmart or works at a Target or works at one of these retailers.
Hmm.
So maybe because of, indirectly, but maybe it affects them with a bonus or something with their job because you chose to basically say, well, I'm going to follow this. I believe this. I'm not going to go shop this day and buy this roll of toilet paper, but I'm going to go tomorrow and buy two. Hell, I may buy four rolls, in case this foolishness comes up. And I mean, it's just, I don't think a lot of thought went into it by, the group. And I'm assuming it's a leftist group. And
Yeah.
I'm just dumbfounded. It doesn't make sense. It's fine to, you know, exercise your First Amendment right. It is fine to peacefully protest, but I think a boycott of a lot of these retailers, and you have to understand a lot of these retailers, companies like Walmart, can't really say Target anymore, but I know Walmart, like Lowe's, uh, Home Depot, even they donate a lot into their communities where those stores are based, whether it's for your kids, the little league ball program, for uniforms or equipment, or if there's a local homeless shelter and they're trying an expansion and they building materials. Walmart donates a lot to schools, and to nursing homes, and I know that's the case here, especially in our community. So I don't understand the boycott of that because you're taking money away, and profit's not a bad word. It's not an ugly word. I mean, you got to be in business to make a profit. If you're not in business to make a profit, then you're not going to be in business very long. So if you're taking away the profitability or the potential, especially on certain days, granted it's one day, but if you're talking nationwide, that's a lot of money amongst the stores nationwide. And for these retailers that give back and do so much to the community that I'm sure has probably benefited some of their children before, I just think it's very foolish. And I think this kind of behavior on a national scale is reckless. I think it's like, hey, thanks, we're great. You donated these uniforms. By the way, I'm not shopping at your store tomorrow. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it blows my mind. I mean, I think that there's better ways to making a statement. If you agree or disagree with something, I mean, whatever happened to, hey, let's get online and sign a petition, or let's go peacefully protest and have our voices heard. I think affecting money, the money of retailers that have done things in the community and that employ some of your neighbors and some of your friends. I just think I think it's foolish.
You hit it on the nail, man. You really did hit it on the nail with that. Kind of to kind of add my last piece to this. Um, I think there's a micro and macro perspective on this. I think the organizers that are looking, that put this whole thing together is looking at this in a micro perspective. To whereas these companies, these big companies, man, they see they have plans out for the next 3 years. I'm sure they know these things are going on. They got a macro perspective, macroeconomic perspective. So they know what's going on. They see it on social media. They let you, that you putting you've passed this through social media, so they know how to counter. They're gonna be fine. But the other part of this that people are missing, I think, man, is they're saying stay away from the major chains, right? But what's happening, is the mom and pop spots are getting hit. I was watching a news clip in Tampa, Florida, to where those were the ones that are suffering. And a lot of those mom and pop stores, a lot of them are in on this whole thing, or like, hey, we are participating in this, but we're getting our pockets are hurting from this thing. The people that you're supposedly are supporting, you're hurting them. That's who you're really hurting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and there's no, let's say there's no end goal toward this whole thing, man. It's foolish to me, to say the least. I just
Well,
don't understand it.
well,
If you're about it, why don't if you're really about it, why don't you do it for a month? This is lazy. You're gonna do it for a day, okay?
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Okay.
it's like when I was a kid, I was a young child. You're listen to your parents. You don't know. You want to be a fireman or you want to be an astronaut. And my mom, point blank, told me. She said, "Son," she said, "whatever you do in life." Because I've never forgotten this. And she only said it to me one time. And why I remember, because she would tell me not to do something 100 times and I'd still do it. But she only told me this one time, and it still registers to this day. And it's the simple fact that if you're going to be a toilet bowl cleaner, you're going to be a professional toilet bowl cleaner, do the best job, give 100% to it. So when you said that, it just triggered that response in my mind, because I agree 100%. Do it for a couple of weeks. Do it for a month if you're really trying to be impactful. One day doesn't do anything, and it makes you look unorganized and silly. But again, I don't think it should have been done. It's disheartening to hear that it's affected small business, which it never should. Because I mean, my wife and I, we were entrepreneurs. We sold our business a year ago. Started it from scratch, and developed that business and grew it over basically a decade, a 10-year stretch. And we were active in the community. Folks would come in, different organizations, different groups. We'd donate, merchandise and money. Happy to do it. And a lot of them, they weren't publicizing where they picked up the donations or anything. So we weren't doing it for publicity. We were doing it because, hey, it was a good cause, or this person was trying to raise money for somebody to have like a life-changing or life-saving, procedure. So we were happy to be a small part of it, whether it was through donating cash or merchandise for some kind of raffle or auction. And so that's just an example from putting myself back as a small business owner, which we were. So you got to remember these small businesses, that they can't go multiple days through a stretch like this. A lot of small businesses, believe it or not, each day is paramount to them. Each day is of such importance on, are they going to be able to give this person more hours? Are they going to be able to have the money to give this person more hours, this part-time helper that helps you when you go in their store, make your product selection, or make sure you get the right size or the right length or whatever it is that you need. So it all goes hand in hand. So it's disheartening. So I'm going to close with this, because I know initially we had said that we were hopefully going to run for about 35, 40 minutes, and we added about 20,
Yeah.
21 minutes to it. But I mean, hopefully this
Yeah.
gives people a lot of insight as to you and your viewpoints, because, I'm a white guy, you're a black guy. I mean, your family was pretty much, predominantly on the left, and people are going to learn more about it. They're going to learn more about you in the next episode, and to make that next episode possible, we need a lot of likes, a lot of subscribers, and folks, tell us what you think. Leave us some comments, send us some messages if you liked it, if you didn't like it. Your feedback helps us. It helps us to grow this. We're old friends. We enjoy doing this. We enjoy basically simplifying, because there's so much to digest in the news cycle. There's things going on every day, and you don't have multiple hours to sit here and read and watch. You need a short snippet. You need the facts. You need to get cut down to the bone of exactly what's going on here, and we're happy to do that, because I mean, neither one of us are rocket scientists. I mean, we don't have multiple degrees. We're just normal average folks that just don't mind putting ourselves out there in front of friends and strangers, to maybe to help you understand something a little bit better, or give you a little bit different perspective on it, because you may have your mind made up one way, but something one of us says may make that little light go off. So we're happy to do that. We really hope you enjoy it. We look for feedback from you. And we really look forward to getting together for our next episode. It'll be all new topics. And Earl's going to have some more time. This was his first episode, so it almost felt like an interview, but I wanted to do it that way, so you were able to. And that's the reason there was no video with this. I wanted you to be able to just listen to it like you would your favorite radio station, but he also wanted the words to sink in like the lyrics to your favorite song. So until next time, guys, this has been Common Sense Commentary. We hope to see you again soon, and God bless.